2024 was a tough season for me, but it was a good one, and it was a good start back into farming again. It was great. It did kick my butt. It took me a couple of months to recover, energetically and mentally and physically. And I've been adjusting to the new job. I think I'm finally getting dialed into that again. I love that job. I love working with Marty. I love the work we do, so that's great. And 2025 is turning out to be a promising year. I've been working on the Massey Ferguson, tweaking up all the loose ends on that. Did some hydraulic lines on that about a month ago. I'm doing some tweaks on it tonight. It's got one of the power steering pump leaks a little bit, so working on that tonight. Actually bought a new power steering pump for it, and I'm going to install that. Yes, it's 7:30 at night on January 2nd, and it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit out, and I'm going to work on that. I don't mind at all. I'm looking forward to 2025 and having functional machinery. Once I get done going through the Massey, hopefully I'll have that done by February or the end of February. Early March, I'm going to pull back the Ford 9N and redo that head gasket, and I probably will pull the studs out and thread seal those, and I think that'll fix our oil leak issue, unless that problem is much deeper. But anyway, we'll get that machine up to par and ready to go, and hopefully by April we'll have operating.
So that is the power steering pump in question. Just a few bolts to get that out. I don't think it'll be too bad. And if it turns out it's too much of a hassle, I'll come back in daylight when it's a little warmer, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. Pop it out. I got a new one in the car for it. Pop that in. I brought along some RTV silicone to make a gasket because it didn't come with the gasket. And hopefully that'll be that. All right, well, I got her out. Those bolts are a little tricky to get to. You got to come in from the front. There's three. The bottom one is the tricky one, so I undid that one first. This top fitting didn't want to come off with a lot of torque, and it was starting to twist the line itself. So I went home and got a torch and heated it with a torch, and then it popped pretty easy. So she's out. That's the old one. We'll stick to that. So here's the new one. Looks about right. I don't have a gasket for it, so I brought some silicone along. The gasket on the old one isn't all that thick, so I'm not too worried about using RTV for that.
Well, guess who's here grazing as usual? Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some fencing.
All right, well, this has been an ongoing saga here with changing this power steering pump. Not for changing the pump, that wasn't horrible, but for the hydraulic fitting issues, mostly that I created on my own because I somehow cross-threaded it. I think that line was just bent a little bit off of the right 90-degree angle into that threaded hole coming out of the pump. So that's been over at Power Tech Hydraulics for like half a week or so now. They were not too interested in helping, I guess would be the way to put that. So I'm probably going to go back and grab that tomorrow or the next day and bring it back here, and I'll sort out my own solution, whether it's through a friend of mine who does automotive work or on my own. So since the machine is down anyway because of that, can't really run it without power steering and be squirting power steering fluid all over, I figured I'd come up and pull off the return hydraulic line on here that needs to be replaced, and the one stabilizer hydraulic line on the other side here that is in very rough shape. I brought a couple of 5-gallon buckets along so I can drain the hydraulic system. This hydraulic system holds 8 gallons of fluid, so and it's not cheap. It's like $300 to replace the fluid in this. So I'm gonna drain the fluid out, pull the return line that's checked and gone bad. So you can see the top part of that right there, and then and the other one, and get those into automotive, get them replaced. Depending on the fittings, those might take a couple weeks to get back anyway. And in the meantime, I can get this hydraulic pump thread fittings and all that sort of stuff sorted out. And I got a new ignition switch for it, and the old one's pretty shot, so I'm going to install that while I'm here. And then hopefully by the time hydraulic lines and power steering lines all come back together, it'll be around the same time. We can get this puppy back online, and then we should be pretty well good to go. The only other major things I need to do on this after that mechanically are the charging system. So the generator on this is pretty old. It's the old Delco Remy DC generator. Goes through your old school charge controller. And I looked it up in the manual, the service manual for this machine, and it says it's 10 to 12 amps. That's not a lot of power. The generator is pretty old and shot. So I'm thinking about switching this over to an alternator or something that puts out some more power and all that, because what I want to do is add some excellent lighting for night work and that sort of stuff. So, and I've got a call in. I think it's going to be a bit of a turnaround time, but I do have a call in to get this tire replaced. So hopefully sometime in the next few months we can get that done too. Then we got new tires, new hydraulic lines, oil changed, fresh hydraulic fluid, good starters, good power steering pumps, and we should be pretty well functional and reliable without having stuff break down in the middle of the season, because that is not ideal. All right, so I forgot to bring solder, so I got one crimp tab on. The other one I have to extend the wire on. Pretty short. I have to extend the wire on that. I didn't bring solder with me, so I'll have to bring solder next time I come. But that basically is installed. Mechanically, it's nice and tight. I ended up having to pick up a nylon washer and drill this hole out a little bit to make it fit. But it works good now, I think. So, on to hydraulic lines. I mentioned that return hydraulic line was pretty checked and horrible. Here's a good look at it for you. Most of the rest of that line is not too bad. This end's a little bit of cracks and stuff, but we don't want that rupturing and losing 8 gallons of hydraulic fluid all over a crop. Not to mention the $300 in hydraulic fluid we have to replace, and so on. So that's what we're on next. All right, so as with all things with tractors, it's always more complicated than it seems. Got this fitting off, no trouble. Drained the remaining fluid that was in the line, no trouble. Wasn't too much in there, actually. That line goes down and dips up and comes over under here like I showed you. But here's the catch-22. I can't get a wrench on it. On this fitting over here to spin, because there's no room to get a wrench in there. And I can get a wrench on this one, but the top of this fitting bumps up against the bracket that supports the hoe. So I can't get it out any more than about a turn and a half, which means it's not going to come out unless I break it. So that means I need to be able to get this pin undone so I can lift this arm up to get that out. And the problem with that is that pin holds the entire hoe assembly. That's one of the support bars, tension bars actually, that holds this unit up. So what I'm going to have to do is get the machine running again and prop the hoe up so it supports itself, and then I can drop these pins and get at the line. Now, the other thing that I've noticed while I was down here working on it, so it's a good thing I have a hydraulic line broken, because it called my attention to this issue. Some of these mounting brackets are pretty loose, so I probably should at least replace, well, I should at least tighten those down, if not maybe replace the entire bolt. And maybe the brackets, because they're a bit bent. They're not in great shape. And the other thing I noticed, in addition to that, is over here, this pin is, support pin is not screwed all the way down, and it's also a little bent, probably because it's not screwed all the way down. And if you look on the other side, that one is bent, or is tight on top. And I just will scan down here and show you that that one's straight, and that goes all the way down and connects to the pin at the bottom there, which holds the hoe frame together. That's part of the support pins for the hoe frame. So I got to straighten that out while I'm in here, and I'm glad my attention was called to it.
Well, another day on the farm with minuscule progress, it feels like, but it always takes time to get these things going.
After many trips across the river, I think we got it right. I had PowerTech hydraulics. We basically kept the ends from before and had them make up a new line. And the ends were a little stripped, but I tried it in the old pump this morning to see if it would thread, and it seemed to thread. And I'm told we're supposed to have O-ring on the end of this. So now we do. And hopefully it'll go back in. And of course I replaced that horrible hydraulic line that was frayed and fractured on the stabilizer. That was a cakewalk to put on and off, so that's nice. Nice change of pace. Other ones are still in decent shape for now, but that was only $80, so I'll probably go through and replace the other 3 this summer when I have time, budget, etc. But nice to know that we're not just going to lose hydraulic pressure and dump all our fluid on the ground. So let me get to the hydraulic, or get to the power steering issue now. Let you know how it goes. 2025. Ignition switch is on. How to extend the wire. I'll probably put new crimp connectors on this when I get better weather that's more appropriate. I had to solder an extension wire on, and doing that in the rain and the snow and the cold wasn't great, but we got it working. She clicks and turns over. I'm not going to show you right now because I still got the power steering pump apart, and I think I got the right part for that now. Well, good grief. It's been a short, fast winter, and it's also been a long winter. I've been working on this machine since sometime in December, or it might have been end of November. Various bits and pieces, and we're pretty well there. I had one issue with the power steering pump where one of the lines would not go back in, so then I pulled the line because I mistakenly stripped it, basically, or thought I stripped it. Pulled the line, looked at it up close, it had a crack on it, so I went over and got a new line made, but that was an ordeal because those fittings are hard to find. That line type is hard to find. Nobody could make it. I basically had to have them use the 2 ends off of the line, make a new line to get rid of the checked rubber line in the middle, and now we got a new one to go in. And my friend Dave was kind enough to help me last week. Went down and hooked up with him, and we figured out what the issue was, why the power steering line wouldn't go into the pump and seal correctly. It turns out it was either not drilled out all the way as it's supposed to be, or I might have crushed it when I tightened down too hard. But we got it so it fits in. We got it plugged in, and I'm just going to leave that line in and install the pump. It's just a short section. Lies the line in question, and that fitting was the one giving me a hard time there. But we got it straightened out, and that nice blue line there is the new line. And that's got an adapter fitting. And believe it or not, these fittings, not this one, but this guy here, is a shark bite type fitting for this sort of thing. And I had this made up over at PowerTech Hydraulics. Although when I first took it over to them, they said they didn't know what to do with that. They didn't think they could do that, and they recommended I go talk to an automotive person. Well, I had already been to Advanced Auto in Red Hook. A lot of excellent guys that work there, and they looked their best to try and find parts for me or give me some guidance. And they couldn't find any information on it. So I ended up going to Eagle GM Diesel over in Kingston, and a guy named Perry helped me out. And I'm very thankful to Perry because he helped me sort out how we could get around this issue. And it's a big in part because of him that I was able to fix this in the way I was. Otherwise, I don't know how I would find a line, the right length and the right fittings. Altogether, this is quite an expensive line replacement, but it is what it is, and we'll have a non-leaking power steering pump in the Massey Ferguson. And as far as I know, there's only one major hydraulic return line to repair on this machine. Then we should be pretty much leak-free. And so then, once this is all set, I got to get the Ford moved over to the house where I can work on it easier. And I got to pull the head on that again and redo the head gasket and find the leak underneath that in the studs and get that straightened out. I got a friend who has a machine shop down in New Paltz. He said he'd he'd spec it and give it a mill slice if it needs it on the head. So that'll make things easier. So we're on our way for 2025 because I got a lot more to do this season. I don't know if I've put a video up on this yet, but I did a lot of clearing over the winter when we had snow and ice cover on, cut down a lot of stuff, and once the machine's up and running and it's not a total mud pit out here, I'm going to push that all up into a pile and get it burned off, because this area needs to be fenced in this year. And I mean like fenced in so nothing can get into it. And around here, that means you got to keep out squirrels, chipmunks, woodchucks, deer, etc.
Boy, that's some gorgeous scene today with the snow still on the mountains. We're at 55 degrees here up at the farm. Right on. I just got the power steering pump in, and I gotta go grab the battery for the tractor because I forgot I pulled that. We have no leaks, so that is good.
Up editing for that last video, I got thinking about replacing this last hydraulic line and how I need to do that. And so now that the machine's running, I stanced it up on the stabilizers and the hoe to support the hoe, so I could get this bracket loose enough to pop this pin out, so I can get to this fit in here so I can replace this hydraulic line. So I'm going to pop this line off and get a new line made up, and we'll put that back in. And then after I get that straightened out, I will come back and straighten up the bracket here and probably just tighten this down, if it'll just tighten down. If not, I might have to straighten it or fabricate something. I don't know. We'll see with that. But first things first, we got a really horrible hydraulic line, as you can see, that needs to be replaced. So we're gonna get that first. Well, March 4th, got the hydraulic line back. Advancing Auto didn't have the fittings I needed, so I ended up having to go to PowerTech Hydraulics again. They were excellent. I know I was a little skeptical of them early in this video, but they solved that power steering problem, which was complex as far as hydraulic lines goes, and took care of me on that. And they took care of this in a day. I could have waited, but I have other work to do, so I just dropped it off and picked it back up today. Put it back on in about 10 minutes. We're leak-free for hydraulics now, at least as far as lines. A little bit of seepage on this, but they got to look into it at some point. But the major leaks are not a problem anymore. We're not going to burst or blow any lines for a while, so that's good. I'm going to add this on to the power steering hydraulic lines video and just close the whole part of that out. And we'll be on to electrical, fan belt, and other issues in upcoming videos. Power steering does not leak. Works like a champ. Got some stuff pushed up here. A couple of the trees that were over there and stuff shoved up into the pile. Came around the north end here. Went after this triangle, got that all scraped up into the pile. That looks a whole lot better now. We can see into the upper block nice and clear. And started getting a chunk of this stuff out of this corner out of here. But then I went to turn around and I noticed a radiator steam coming off. So I think I got a leak somewhere or something. It's starting to snow. And it's supposed to get pretty cold tonight, tomorrow. So I'll put it off until I get a look at the service manual, try and have a better understanding of where that leak could possibly be. But good progress, and looking forward to moving on into the season. I gotta clear this whole triangle up here for an upcoming project, which I'm very excited about, but I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about that. So for now, I hope you found this interesting and informative. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you feel it's appropriate. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.